Hey there. A few months ago, I was trying to figure out a way to make ribbon bows on gift boxes for the holidays. And I searched around on good old YouTube and found some tutorials, but none of which really got to what I was wanting to do. So this is going to be pretty quick and dirty. I'm going to jump right to it, but I thought I would take this opportunity to share with you the process that I ended up developing to get ribbons on wooden gift boxes. Here you go. All right, in a nutshell, I actually have two of these in process right now. The last two I'm going to make, and it's up to you how you want to make your box, whatever kind of joinery, whatever kind of wood. This last one here, we've got some dovetails going on, and this is all sapele. And you'll notice that I've already, before cutting this in half, I decided where I wanted the ribbons to go, and I've already cut a dado, if you will, around all four sides, five sides actually. Then the ribbon itself is pretty straightforward. It's basically take a block of whatever kind of lamination you want to do. You know, this one we've got, let's see, that's maple and walnut, cherry and maple, and cherry and walnut and maple. So you can do it with, you know, less stripes. Over here is one that's just, I think, oak and walnut and sapele. But point being is you want to reserve one sort of chunky bit. This lamination is going to end up becoming the bow for this box. And then this is about an equal volume that has been cut into little strips. And your goal is that you want your strips to fit into your, sorry, my vocabulary is failing me, fit into your dado, and just be proud by a little bit, or be flush. It's actually fine if it's totally flush. You don't want it to be countersunk is the only thing. So anyway, set this aside. This is a little bit tricky to do while holding the camera, but this is the first piece that I'm going to cut, and I'm going to refine the shape a little bit. I'm not totally pleased with it, but you want it flat across the bottom. There's going to be ribbons that are coming off each side, and there's just basically going to be a hole through the middle. Okay, I think I'm going to go with this. This is just a hair smaller than I would like, but you can see that it's going to leave a little bit of a upper ribbon there. It'll come around the sides. It's got a little bit of a ribbon on each side, and a little bit more space on the bottom. Now, it's up to you whether or not, whenever this is done, you want to shape that out into the bottom or just leave it a perfect circle. I've done both, but anyway. I'm going to go ahead and jump into this. There's a little thing I'm going to share with you at the end that'll help you avoid some tear out. Okay, so I've drilled this out, but you'll notice I've gotten down to the last couple of layers. That top layer of maple is very thin. It's barely a 1/16 of an inch, but you can see it there, which means I'm almost all the way through. A couple things to note. This edge, the edge that we're indexing again, must remain the same against the fence. I'm going to take this off, and you'll see that there's just a pinhole where we've already come through. The first couple of these I noticed that I would get some tear out back here, even if I had a board beneath my the piece I was drilling. I'd still get a little tear out. This is a relatively old Craftsman drill press. It's not the it's got a little bit of play in it. So I am taking, again, the same side that I had indexed before. I'm indexing against the fence, and I can't do this and film with both hands, but whenever I come down, I'm going to be aligning that point exactly with that hole, and whenever I drill through, I will come into the same cavity where I just was and have zero tear out. I'll show you the results in a second. So I just cut through from the other side, came exactly into the same space, and this little 1/16 of an inch wafer just popped loose and fell into the middle. Totally smooth on both sides, zero tear out. So that's a little helpful trick that I discovered the hard way. So now we're moving over to the scroll saw, and I'm just gonna cut out this profile, and I am probably not going to remove more material down here, but you are certainly welcome to do so. What I ended up with after a little bit of sanding. I tried to keep my ribbon about 1/8 of an inch thick, but you could see the belt sander I was working on is not a precise tool, and there are going to be places, if you try to do it that way, where you're going to get some thin spots. It's okay, but ideally you want to try to keep your ribbon sort of a consistent thickness all the way around. Now, you don't have to do this step either, and if you do choose to do it, you can do it by hand, but I often use a small Dremel to soften some of these hard edges, just give them a gentle chamfer around the edge, just to make it a little bit more comfortable in handling. So I'm going to do that off camera. All right, 2 other thoughts to share with you real quick at this point in it. One little pro tip, it helps to have your outermost layer be a particularly dense hardwood. All these are hardwoods running through here, but this is maple out here. It's a little harder than the walnut, and even white oak is a nice accent that's even harder. The benefit to that is as you're trying to smooth stuff out, and I've noticed some accidents from some earlier ones, it's not quite as forgiving if this is a place that becomes delicate and prone to chip out. So helps to have a good, solid, dense hardwood out here. Second thing that I was going to share with you is you might be thinking, well, I want to clear out this space to make this sort of a uniform 1/8 of an inch ribbon all the way across. And the reality is I'm not, and I have in the past, and you know, you do you. But the reason that I don't is this. Coming back to this other ribbon that has already been built, you'll notice that when it's finally, and eventually I'll show you some, you know, all this being smoothly sanded up and finished and oiled and done. Visibility to that space is non-existent. As you move the box in the round, you're never going to see that this was just left a circle. So it's additional labor that's kind of lost, and it's one more place to risk, breaking which I've also done. The thinner these get and the more complex these shapes get, the more possible it is you've got to go back to the drawing board and do it again. So anyway, this is how I'm going to leave this. Now I'll show you how I'm going to make these little teardrop shapes. It's pretty straightforward. So here we are back with our sort of chunk of lamination. You can see here where this was cut out. I want to preserve as absolute much wood as I can, so I'm just going to barely move this onto the crescent, and then I'm going to trace along the outside edge and begin to draw out one of those teardrops, which unfortunately I can't do while holding the camera, but give me just 1 second. And there you go. You can see it just exactly matches that profile. I was about to say, upon reflection, if I had not removed so much sanding, it would be great if I could use that exact profile where I cut here and the two would fit together perfectly. But you normally do have a fair amount of sanding and polishing you have to do, so that's nothing. I've never been able to do that. But here's the shape that we're going to be working with. We go right back as we did before. We find the right Forstner bit and drill a hole here. And then we will do a little bit more scroll saw work to sort of cut out a triangle below. And I'll show you that in just a second. All right, so here you have the final result. And I wanted to show you again using that little come in from both sides trick with the Forstner bit. You end up with this little guy that just pops right out, and again, no tear out on either side. Now, you'll notice here I've gone ahead and marked up, this is a section I'm going to cut out to basically make, that. and this is going to be too thin. So I'll make a few adjustments and widen this out so I'm staying closer to about 1/8 of an inch all around. Take it back over to the scroll saw and knock this out. Okay, this is probably common sense for most of you, but I just about made a huge mistake, which I had done in the past. Let me show you something. I'm using the scroll saw to cut this radius out, and I was almost done and realized I have not yet cut out the negative space here. Now imagine trying to hold down a piece this small and fiddly while getting this cut done. So while that is not a whole lot of material to brace all this to this, I think it's going to be enough. I'm going to remove the blade, slide this off, and do this interior cut first. So I just thought I would share that with you because I have made many mistakes. I've made probably about a dozen of these this past year, and there's a lot of gotchas in the process. All right, and here's the result, and I won't walk through doing this to the other side. The process is exactly the same, but I did want to point out to you, whether I use a coping saw or a scroll saw, I tend to end up with results a little bit like this during the transition from round into this little space. The same Dremel tool that I use to chamfer the little hard edges here also can be pretty useful in here, as can be very flat needle files in clearing this stuff out. So you'll notice again, there's a little place that's a little thin here, but overall, this is a pretty successful take at one of these. So I'm gonna go ahead and knock out the others of these, and then we'll move on to the last 2 loops of the ribbon. Done. The next thing, example, we've had all these done. Now we need to do these. So my process for doing that is thus. All I'm going to do is take this guy in the middle, stand it up. I've got, this is my remaining scrap from my lamination for the ribbon. I've got a clean 90-degree angle here. I'm going to place this here. I'm going to mark a height very similar to this, and then I'm going to freehand out that loop you see right there. And this is essentially the shape you're going for. You'll notice I've left a little bit of a flat surface here and a little bit of a flat surface here before you get into the arc. The point for that being is when you finally get to where you're going to put it on the box, having all of these things, having a flat registration on one side makes it a lot more stable and easy to glue it down when the time comes. So I'm going to go drill this, cut out its little negative piece and duplicate it, and we will end up with something just very similar to that. And there you go. That's basically all the parts cut crudely. They still will require additional sanding and smoothing and finishing, but that gets you a general idea. Now, I want to talk to you a minute about this. This is the scrap that you have left from the lamination that you made to cut these pieces out. You should have had at least twice this, because you're going to need, depending on the size of your box, quite a lot of this to make it all the way around your dados here. Don't throw this out. This is not scrap. There'll be a step that comes later. Where'd I put this guy? Where you are going to want to cut some unusual pieces that we're going to tuck into the corners to make more realistic ribbon runners coming out from the bow, like so. This piece actually belongs to this box that I'm working on over here, but we'll get to it. Point being, don't throw this away. All right, next step is I'm going to go ahead and get some of my ribbon finished, sanded down, and glued into here, and then we'll come back to finish up the ribbon. Thanks. So real quick, here's another little pro tip. There's some burning here, and I'll get that out whenever I sand it, but this is what I wanted to show you. If you look at the edge of these ribbons, you'll see that there's a little bit of splintery feathering going on here, which is easily cleaned up with sanding, but this one has already been glued on and mitered and ready to go. So I will get in there and sand that out and correct that. And here's a great example. Look at this one. You see how rough these edges are? Whenever you're cutting things that are 1/8 of an inch thick and smaller, I've found, and especially if you've been using a flat cut blade, which I've been using here, not the best for this kind of cutting, go ahead and take the time and take a sanding block or a little piece of emery cloth or sandpaper. Clean these guys up before you start getting them here down into your dados. And one more thing, this may not translate very well on camera, but you'll notice once you get into a project like this and you're working through all your little scraps of ribbon, sometimes they're not 100% exactly the same height down to the 64th of an inch. Who cares? I mean, honestly, most of the time it doesn't matter. But remember, there will come a time when you are gluing all this stuff on, and you may be gluing it on, I will be gluing it on at about a 45-degree angle. So the surface that runs from here to here becomes very important, that it be very flush. Now again, all this can be corrected and adjusted with sanding, and this one, hopefully, so hard to do while holding the camera. Hopefully you can see this one's about a 32nd, 64th of an inch lower than this one. However, if I'm careful with my stock selection, this one is just about dead nuts on. It's very, very smooth. So as you're, especially on this space, the top of your box is the most important. Try to be sure that the stock that you're choosing both is as uniform and smooth as you can be, and also pay attention to slight tiny variances, such as you know, if this is a slightly thinner than this, be sure that whenever you're doing this piece over here, you keep the same, so you have uniformity of your thin white stripe to your thick white stripe, if that makes sense. So this video has run way longer than I expected it to. I hope it's been helpful for you. Listen, I've got the larger Sapele box all clamped up and all of its ribbons drying on right now. What I'm gonna do is go ahead and walk you through what we've got going on with one of the other boxes I'm working on, because it's closer to done, and let's wrap this up and get you back out and making some sawdust. Okay, so here's the smaller of the two boxes. This is just walnut, cherry, walnut, and oak in terms of the ribbon makeup. This is sort of, none of this is glued down, but this is, it's approaching the point before final sanding of sort of how the final construction will be. Every piece you've cut should have a flat surface like this, so you've got a good registration. I tend to cant mine about 40 degrees, 45 degrees across the ribbon cross section, so you end up with something like that. And then this is the piece, whenever I was telling you not to throw this guy away, this was the ribbon from your other piece. These are the kind of things that you're going to cut off of that scrap. And again, this needs some more finishing and polishing, but you can get the idea. I've cut this at a 90-degree angle. Once this is in place, this will also be registered and glued down, something like that. And it allows you to, it really helps to have a Dremel tool, a coping saw, or a scroll saw to sort of work this out. I'm sure you could hand cut these shapes, but I'm not that patient. So anyway, I'll leave that up to your creative imagination, but it's great to have a couple of these little guys coming off to really sell the illusion and sell the effect. And lastly, I'm going to throw just a handful of some finished versions of this so that you can see what the final product might possibly look like. Hope this has been helpful. I wish I had found a tutorial like this whenever I was trying to do these for the first time. So thanks a lot, YouTube. Keep giving back. Enjoy. Bye.